Ladies and gentlemen, ultimately it's here once again. As has been promised through the week, the Cardinal Talk Show is right here with me. And as usual, you know, this is Politics 101. Matters that are very hard to ventilate will always find solutions here. Matters that touch on you and I in terms of our livelihoods, in terms of our politics, will always be spoken right here in no uncertain terms. And I'll be having with me guests here who will give you the more information you need to understand our politics, especially now that we are faced with Uhuru Kenyatta's succession and the BBI onslaught that is currently raising a lot of heat in the country. We want to look at these things one by one. This will be brought to you one-on-one from Lolwe Television Network, where we want to really talk about these things and understand them better. I'm going to be your host for this show. My name is Nick Okello. And with me here right now are guys who know it all in terms of matters politics and law. And today, they'll be giving us all this information without blinking an eyelid. I'll give each and every them time to introduce themselves so that you may understand them better. On my right is somebody who's been in the politics of this country for quite a long time. Is somebody who has it all in terms of know-how. Politician and a businessman to boot. On my left is a renowned lawyer who will also give us his name. Somebody who's been practicing law, understands law, and can give us matters law in terms of our understanding and analysis of our political aspects, especially the BBI. Therefore, it's time for me to introduce my guest, and I'll start with my guest on the right. Kindly, sir, it's time to let you tell these guys who you are. Meanwhile, karibu sana, karibu sana, karibu sana.
Okay, thank you. Hello, viewers, and thanks, Nick, for having me. Yeah. It's been quite a while since I was at this show, and it's a pleasure to be here again. My name is Gitonga Wathanga. As Nick said, I'm a businessman in Nairobi, and also a long-serving member of the ODM party. But I don't really subscribe to what Nick said, that we know it all. No, we only try to exchange ideas.
Yes. Yeah, you know, politicians are people who will always tell you this when they mean the other one. So thank you very much. Welcome to the show, Mr. Gitonga Wathanga. Like you heard, is a long-time ODM party member from Nyeri County. Very interesting development here. On my left is somebody who will also give us more legal understanding into matters of politics, because without law, it's a jungle. Yes, sir. Welcome to the show, and please, your name.
Thank you, Nick. My name is Paul Aol, a lawyer based here in Nairobi, and I'm happy to be part of the conversation regarding law and politics in Kenya.
Yes, it's law and politics in Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, this country would be mistaken for a country that is heading to elections in the next 3 months. Why? Because our politics has snowballed into something that is now full-blown politics, as though elections are around the corner. All this has brought negative and sometimes even positive impacts. Sometimes what is important gets lost into all this array of confusion. And this is why the Cardinal Talk Show is here with us. And today we want to really ventilate, we want to spotlight on matters of BBI. And very many guys sometimes don't even understand what it is. What's the concept behind BBI? The political class would tell you something else. The legal minds would interpret it so differently. Now, it's time for you. Sit back, and then we begin it right away. I'll give it to the lawyer to start it on. Just what is this BBI thing? I know many of us don't really understand what BBI is. If you talk to Wanjiko there, talk to Anyango, talk to Asha there, you will get them talking about BBI as though they know it, but they don't know the content of BBI. Not even the content alone, even the concept behind BBI sometimes is lost here. Yes, Paul, from a legal point of view, just what is this? We are told right now it's becoming a bill. The following day it will be going into the counties. It's already in the counties, I know, but we don't know what is going to the counties. Is this a case where Mwananchi doesn't even know what is being prepared for him or her, and then they'll be got flat-footed to go and vote in a referendum that they don't even understand?
Thank you, Nick, for inviting me to be part of the conversation concerning BBI. BBI in full is Building Bridges Initiative. Now, the problem with the whole understanding and concept of BBI is that it depends on who is talking about it and what or where or from which platform are you arguing from. BBI actually started with the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And the background to it was that there are so many issues in Kenya that related to our social life, economic life, nationhood, things like access to resources, unemployment among the youth, fairness, that had not been resolved for a very long time, that somehow affected how we related with each other in this country. That they thought that they can no longer run away from these issues or act as if things are normal. Like, you cannot act like you go to an election, people vote, somebody wins, he takes over office, that everybody will accept that democratic process. That there were issues that, even issues where now we needed to address. Some of them are legal issues that must be addressed within the legal instruments. Others are issues about change and aspect and embracing and how we look at things. So some of these issues have been reduced into amendments that must go through the Constitution, because you realize that however nice something is, if you don't reduce it into an instrument that mandates somebody to do something or to deliver something, then it all depends on goodwill. The problem with goodwill is that as an office holder, today I might feel obligated to do something, then tomorrow I feel that there is nothing that obligates me. I did it as a result of just goodwill. So the Building Bridges is all about, let's sit down, let's discuss what are these issues that we need to bring to the fore. If there are areas that we feel that these areas have been marginalized as a result of operation of the law, then now we say, let's now try to bring them into the same level. If there are issues of resources and access to services, then we begin and say, yes, then if this can be addressed through the law and it will bring them to par, or will bring them, like for example, it's a fact that women cannot compete at the same level with men because the African society is patriarchal. I'm more likely to inherit land from my father and be wealthy because I'm a man. Because if you look at how the inheritance system works within my community, my father received land or got land in inheritance from his father. He's also likely to leave it to me because I'm his son. But yes, we get to a point where we begin feeling that, fine, we are all children of this person I call my father, me and my sisters. Should we now not sit down and say, why don't we play at the same level?
Now, is that trying to get us to equity or equality? I mean, what is it that it's got? Because ideally, we are African. And if we are Africans, there are things that are inherent upon Africans. True, like you say, a law might be propagated to want to address these matters. However, it comes to a point where culture also now intervenes. When a culture intervenes, there's a clash between what is supposed to be the legal rights of a person and what is supposed to be the cultural cultural position of a people in a society. Can BBI purport to be addressing this really?
BBI are proposals to try and address or relook at certain things so that at least they are not doing so badly. It's not possible. Mick, I can tell you, equality is an aim. Equality is an endeavor. It's not possible that you can bring equality just by writing a piece of legislation. But BBI tried to tell people that, can we begin thinking in a way that we bring everybody to play? Like, for example, you realize that we give resources in relation to the agencies that are there. Like, you first of all must have a structure, then that structure is what gets resources. For example, you get a constituency that has a population of 100,000, is given same CDF with a constituency that has population of 300,000. You realize one constituency will suffer because it has more citizens. Like, just imagine, you want to say that even bursary is 10%, you want to give bursary of 10% to people who are 100,000, and you also want to give bursary of 10%, same value, to people who are 300,000. So what BBI is trying to say that, okay, fine, let us relook at this. So if this constituency is 100,000, let's also agree that that constituency should not be one constituency, it should actually be 3 constituencies. So that instead of giving it 100 million in CDF, it should actually get 300 million. It has missed that one for the last 10 years, but yes, now let's look at it and let's agree that this is what it deserves.
So that is the bridge.
The bridge is to ensure that, yes, at least you bring it into equal playground with the others.
Yes, Mr. Gitonga Wadhanga, from the political angle, you know, the drums of politics are beating so high. It's actually reaching a crescendo at a very early stage. Sometimes what lawyer Paul Aol is giving us here gets lost into the political noise that is currently in the country. As a politician, I want first of all to look at your position in terms of BBI. Is this thing what the lawyers look at it, or it's got its political end tone, because there's the legal point and the political benefit attached to it? Just what is your thinking? What's your position about this in this context of BBI and politics?
Constitution making is generally a political process. So you really cannot divorce it from the politics. And unfortunately, this time we have had we have a president who is serving his last term, and unfortunately, the people who want to succeed him, they started their politics quite early. So that is why now it has actually, if probably these who are doing this process in the first term of the presidency, maybe there would not have been so much politics as there is now. But now that there's the succession issues, definitely that is why we have so much politics. But it was inevitable that we were going to amend our constitution, because now our democracy is still very young. We are still maturing, and our society is actually very, very dynamic. And there's a lot of now influence, and also global influence, not only local. There's a lot of global influences that will make us really want to adjust the way we govern ourselves to align ourselves with the rest of the world, and because now, for instance, now the world is also moving now to giving rights to women, and bringing women to playing leveling the playing field. And for instance, if you look at a country like I understand like Rwanda, I think, has got say about, I understand, is about 50% representation.
Rwanda is actually 50-50 as it is right now.
Yes, of men and women. Whereas in Kenya, we are still very, very
far from that.
Yeah, I think we had our parliament, I think, had about 10% or less of women. Yeah. And so now, to align ourselves now, to bring up, we had to. It was necessary. Definitely, it was inevitable that we'd have to
do something about it.
Yes. Unfortunately, as I said, now we are not also looking at the merits or the merits of the amendments. What mostly now is that play is the politics, of the country, such that
Actually,
we are
sir,
not able to look objectively
Yeah.
at the proposed amendments.
and as politicians, why must you guys take the BBI drive into this serious political angle where guys are campaigning, you mobilize masses? It's sometimes now it's becoming even violent, like the Githurai Bama thing. You look at this kind of thing now. Even Kenyans, ordinary Kenyans here, are getting lost in the fact that there is succession and there is what is supposed to be the BBI drive. So what are you guys selling? At least from a lawyer's point of view, we would understand what it's supposed to be. Though we also want to question lawyers why it must go through amendments, things that are in the BBI, things like taxation, tax holidays, things like having a youth commission. You wonder why things like that must always find their way into the BBI document. However, you'll have time to answer that. Now back to you as a politician. Why do you think our politics cannot be divorced from facts? Yes, all politics is local, but why must BBI, which is presumed to be an answer to our problems, become a serious bone of contention to both political sides, on the Kieleweke side, pro-Uhuru side and pro-Ruto side, and those people who are with Raila? Why is it creating so much division, yet it's called the Building Bridges Initiative? It's a contrast of sorts. What bridges are being built here? Because everybody is now pulling on their side. Mr. Gitonga, why must we have politics intertwined with the BBI? Aren't we losing this thing altogether? We are tantamount to be throwing the baby out with the bath water.
The thing is that most of our politics and most of our politicians are dishonest. Most of our politicians are dishonest and selfish. So you don't expect them to play clean. They play dirty politics. And even our electorate, by the way, they prefer, they are more attracted to dirty politicians than the clean politicians. If you go to an electorate with a good manifesto and you are telling them facts, what you're gonna do, and you're not lying to them, and you're not really likely to attract attention, let alone votes.
Yeah.
So it's really our politicians also doing really what the society, what the voters want. If you are a decent man in our politics, you are not likely to get anywhere. So you have to play dirty.
You have to play dirty to get anywhere.
To get anywhere. And some of them, and some of our politicians, they don't really need a lot of effort in doing that, because themselves, they are dirty, they are log politicians, and they are hooligans. So it's not surprising that this is happening.
Okay, well, at least we use special language not to term others hooligans.
But you know, you just look at what has been happening around with our politicians.
Okay, well, but we should actually not get to a point of naming them as hooligans, because they are sometimes honorable Kenyans. Maybe they don't know what to do the right way. As before we even think of doing this, why do you think, Mr. Paul, that this matter must get to where it is? Yet it's a matter of legislation. Why can't it be left to the county assemblies, debate it, pass or reject? And then we as voters will be called upon at the right time and leave alone these politicians out of it, such that this thing gets a sober understanding, a sober undertaking, where Kenyans will have to understand exactly what they're in.
Like Gitonga said, actually, you cannot really divorce politics from law, because politics is a representation of interest. And in most cases, interest, especially in a polity, where there are so many people who think differently, people have to sit down, negotiate, and agree that this is what will guide us, or whatever is applicable has taken note of what my interest is. So it's not that easy where you can just come up with something and then you say, this is what it is. It will be rejected, because you must have to convince people that your aspirations, your aims have been taken into account, and you've seen there's people, and there are decent politicians who are actually saying that we should try as much as possible to get to a point where some issues are non-contested. Because, for example, you'll realize, there are certain things that in this country make things difficult. For example, in Nairobi, in terms of in terms of the boundaries and in terms of the delimitation, you will realize that you go to a place like, let me tell you, you go to a place like Sarangombe here in Kibra. It's one ward, and that one ward has 36,000 registered voters. You will go to a constituency where the whole constituency, it is bigger in terms of, now, if you want to put it in terms of boundary, it will be even Sarangombe 10 times.
Yeah.
But now, you'll realize that the registered voters are only 20,000. So you see, now, there are things that now we have to agree on, that do you give resources in terms of the distance or the radius, or do you give them in terms of the populations living there? And that is now what Gitonga was saying. These are now the things that now we have to sit down and agree, where somebody feels that you should give an area of 100 kilometers. There are constituencies where one end to the other end is almost 100 kilometers.
Yeah.
But the real truth is that if you take how many people are living within it, you'll realize that even one ward in Nairobi is bigger than those people. So now these are the things that where people now have to sit down, agree. Once people have agreed, then now you reduce it into law, then you pass it, that now henceforth, this is now what we've agreed on.
Well said from your law perspective. But why must politicians make this one so contentious, where now names must be called? Like he says, we sit down, agree, build a consensus, make it non-contestable, and we have what is supposed to be good for Kenyans. Then come in the politician, and this thing now gets lost. What he says is very practical. Why can't you sit down? Why can't we legislate this, debate, agree, disagree, in a civilized manner, than calling crowds in Githurai, calling crowds in Bama, and then creating unnecessary mayhem before elections are even set in the next 19 months, Mr. Gitonga, as we go for this short break? Why must we get there, really?
Because eventually now, because we are going to the referendum, so we have to the people who are promoting the amendments. We have to go to the people and at least also let them know and what proposals, and it's kind of civic education.
Civic education drive in rallies.
Well, yeah,
how would we be so crude to that extent?
Yeah, because there is no other way really that you can really educate our masses.
Call town hall meetings, Mr. Gitonga, and get guys there who can inform. Get informed.
It is not practical. It's not practical to call town hall meetings for the whole population. So if anything, that is the realist best thing to do. You know, the easiest thing to do if we want to reach the voters. It is inevitable. Town hall meetings, kwanza, in this country, you can't. In the first place, if you call people into a town hall meetings, they expect an allowance. You know how politics are.
An allowance for that?
Yeah, of course they do.
No, it's a civic responsibility to participate in a discourse like that. Why would you expect to be paid for something that is supposed to be a responsibility?
Actually, if you do that, then if you invite people to a meeting and then you don't give them an allowance, that's the end of your beginning. That's the beginning of your end. Because
it will be dead on arrival.
It is. Nobody will be interested, actually. And in fact, and it's all over the country. I wouldn't say it is in any part of the country, but all over the country that people have. There isn't that to what you're calling a civic responsibility. People expect so much. They expect so much, and because they also feel that the political class they have a lot of money. So they think it is their duty as well to share this money that they loot from government. So it is inevitable.
Well, you hear this discussion, you get a point where they seem to be accusing you, the Mwananchi, that you have a particular mindset that makes it so hard for you to also discharge what is supposed to be a civic duty. Yes, this could be because of the hardships, the economic hardships, the way people are trained, the way people have been brought up, a culture that has been propagated for a long time. Yes, we are going to the break. You are hearing this. You are at 8 is a Cardinal Talk show coming to you right here from Lolwe Television Network. When we will be back, there is all this noise about Uhuru succession. We have a deputy that has declared war on his boss. We have an opposition that right now has gone out full scale to campaign for Uhuru succession. Just what is wrong with Kenyans? 19 or 18 months to elections, we are making this country ungovernable. We are hurting the economic progress of this country. We are bringing so much politics into the minds of the people, and this is detrimental to our progress as a country. Yes, what is there in Uhuru's succession? Shortly when we come back.
Give me 10 years.
It is back once again.
Na uchaguzi utakuja na utaisha.
They say politics is a life changer.
Because we want to change the fortunes.
It is a time that Kenyans are now faced with so much political heat, ranging from the BBI onslaught. We've got the Uhuru succession politics. We've got the dynasties versus the hustler narrative that is currently going on. The only better way to get to understand this is by watching the Cardinal Talk show on Lolwe television network every Sunday night between 8 and 9, where matters politics will be discussed. Yes, at this rate now, it's time to invite all opinion leaders, worthy debaters, people who will ventilate, people who will inform, people who will give us the insight, because we've got to unpackage what is inside politics, both locally and internationally. Are you ready to occupy these seats? So, if you are, I welcome you. I'll be hosting you here every Sunday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. every single week.
El professeur plus fort.
Yes, manakamano neja neno Lolwe TV. Arumba chacha, rumba chacha, rumba chacha. Sukuma sha. Wachake chaka kendo adhiadhia. Kaka wachake ni kaka wachake.
Dr. Patrick Mulendele.
Arwakini machiegni e chenro mari mar Rumba Lingala Extra kikelo nikodan DJ Boy.
Christian Lombo le pétrolier. Prof Hippolyte toi qui banza. Maître Polycarpe Kaimba.
Yes, welcome back to the Cardinal Talk show, this show that will be coming to you and has always been there, and now it's back on Lolwe television network. As you are joining maybe right now, you can always get in touch with us. Give us your thoughts on hashtag Cardinal Talk show. You can also tweet me on at Okello 7 or at Lolwe television network. Our Facebook page is Lolwe television Kenya. All these are our points of communication. Keep giving your thoughts about this. What's your thinking about succession? You know, in law, we know a president serves 2 complete terms before we get into an election, and this president is bound by law to give or hand over power to the next winner of the subsequent elections. Yes, this country under Uhuru Kenyatta since 2017 has been perennially on a campaign mode, led by a deputy president who has gone out of his way to just defy every written law in the book or unwritten law, wherever it is, to campaign. You know, I even see people making other parties, you know, forming other parties within another party. Where's party discipline? Where is what we call loyalty to your boss? Where is what we call party ideology in all this? Where is what we would call the rule of decency in our politics? Must it be this murky and messy always? Why can't we get our acts right? Just the other day, Americans had their elections. We didn't see anywhere that Mike Pence or whoever wanted to succeed Donald Trump went out berserk to know, do his politics his own way or our own way. Just where is decency in our politics, Mr. Gitonga Wadhanga? Yes, the opposition is not left behind. They also throw their end of politics into this. or it's all about 2022 elections with an economy that's not performing, Mr. Gitonga, with a youth population that is dangerously unemployed right now, with what I call, skyrocketing debts right now standing to almost 5 trillion, with a country that is limping in terms of its physical discipline. I mean, where are we headed to? Why must we be talking about things, promised things to 18 months to elections, and yet we have time to implement what we promised 3 or 4 years ago, and we are letting everything go just like that? What is wrong with us as a people, Mr. Gitonga Wadhanga?
It's really not we as a people, it's the governance that we have. And you talked about party discipline, especially in Jubilee. And for information, really, Jubilee has never really been a party. Jubilee, when it was formed, they have never even conducted elections in any time. They don't have any structures. And
is your party any different?
Yes, it is. It is. At least we attempt. All right. We make very good attempts, to hold elections. We have structures pretty much. We have structure all of our. We have branches in every constituency of this country, and they are well known. We have officials of the party, and but not. You cannot say the same for Jubilee.
So people like Murade are holding positions that are not tenable in law, or what do you mean?
They are not. They were just appointed. They were interim. They've never really.
So they are merely appointees.
Yeah, they were interim officials. They've never had elections. So Jubilee, they don't have respect for the parties. So that is why you cannot really talk about party discipline, because they have never had a party in the first place, and that's why you see them creating. And destroying parties, with abandon. They started with the TNA. I think who started with TNA? I think he came from
It
Kanu.
was URP TNA.
They came from Kanu, went to TNA, then went. I don't know. They formed what? Jubilee.
That's the same to you guys. I mean, you guys have been from NDP, LDP. You even come close to Kanu
ODM,
at one point.
ODM is the oldest party now. Next to it has been in existence now for over 15 years. Right?
Since 2005, I remember.
Yeah, since 2005.
Yeah.
It's been it's only Kanu that is older than ODM.
Then I'm talking about Uhuru succession. Why do you think there is so much heat in Jubilee? Why can't Jubilee remain calm? They are in power. They should be angling themselves to really take over and continue what Uhuru Kenyatta has done, instead of like campaigning and they behave like they are from a different party.
Yes, because they have a deputy who is so impatient, who is so hungry for power, but such that then he got the guts to think that he can undermine the president. Take for instance the way he goes to Mount Kenya. Naturally, somebody who has got respect for his boss would not go to his territory where he come without his. He should have waited for the president.
What's this territory you're talking about? Are we making Kenya have territories? I mean, it's a free country, it's a free society we're living in.
Yes, of course we are, but at least the reality is somebody has got his area kind of, There's where he has come from and where his support base is.
Yeah.
So now Uhuru's support base is mostly in the Mount Kenya region.
Yeah.
All right. That's a fact. That's a fact. And so now for anybody, especially if you are in Jubilee and you are working with the president, it is good manners dictate that if you are going to approach the people of that region, then he should have waited for the president to go and introduce him and take,
Seriously?
And, yes, he does.
Mr. Gitanga, seriously?
Going, whatever he does now is really undermining him. Is undermining the president. Is telling him, you know what? I don't need you. I can go alone. I can do it alone. I can do it alone. I don't really need your support. And so it has, of course, it has increased the voltage of politics.
In the mountain.
Yeah, so to speak. and has actually now has brought in a wedge, because now it has come to a point whereby now the president, it appears like also the president now is also in the campaign mode, like he's seeking
He's
votes.
playing catch up.
Yeah. But generally the person who is also the person who is to blame is the only person now who has declared his candidature, the deputy president. Nobody else has declared this candidature for 2022 leading. Other than others are saying, okay, there are one or two saying they'll be on the ballot and what have you, but nobody else has really hit the ground campaigning like he has.
Paul, the politics of this country sometimes leave you with so much questions and answers. Like, really, if Jubilee had a promise, they had a manifesto that collectively they promised Kenyans, why would they abandon the manifesto midway and then begin seeking another mandate? This manifesto is not even well articulated, not even well done. We're not even seeing the Big Four agenda running anymore. We can't even see the studies that were promised. Actually, nothing seems to be working here, other than this BBI thing that is now being fronted by both Raila and Uhuru Kenyatta. Just what is wrong, and why must we be in perpetual this electioneering mood? Really, it's hurting this country so greatly.
I tend to think that there are things we cannot really run away from. First of all, resources are few everywhere, whether in Kenya, whether in America. I think maybe it's only in heaven where resources are not few. And anywhere where resources are few, then it means that people have to strategize. People have to see how some people can get better resources than others, or control the allocation of those resources, or control the enjoyment of those resources. So in Kenya, somehow, in as much as we have the issue of one man, one vote, it means that for any formation to be in government, then people have to either come together to pursue power as a party or as a coalition of parties, so that they are able to fast track the enjoyment of these resources through certain areas. You know, Nick, we come from different areas. There are places in this country where their main concern is agriculture, because that is what they sell. You go to a place like Kirinyaga, all that they are keen on is agriculture. And it's not the same agriculture. You will go to a place like Western or Nyanza, where they also do agriculture, but they do agriculture from sugarcane. You'll go to Kericho, where they do agriculture, but it is tea. You understand what I mean? So it means that the people of Kirinyaga, the people of Western, the people of Kericho, they'll need somebody who will be keen on the type of agriculture they do. To mean, they'll have to sit down, agree that fine, who will be sympathetic to our concerns than who. Now, that is the whole thing between Uhuru and Ruto, that they agreed that fine, there are certain things that we needed to achieve together. But one of them now, or both of them, feel like you are no longer keen on what we agreed. The other one also feels that you are no longer keen on what we agreed. So it means that now they have to pursue other paths to achieve what they agreed on. And that's what necessitated politics. Like, you'll realize right now the president is keen that he needs to leave this country together. The truth is that if you look at the voting pattern in 2013 and 2017, there are certain voting blocks that voted for the president. And there are also certain voting blocks that never voted for the president. But now he is keen that in as much as these areas never voted for me, but yes, if I'm uplifting these areas, I also need to uplift this thing. Yeah. The deputy president also feels that we had agreed that you are supposed to serve this number of terms, and I did my bit to deliver. Why are you not doing your bit? So we have two people who, one is keen that the agenda we should be pursuing is this one. The other one also feels that yes, if we pursue this agenda, it will not respect what we had agreed with you initially. Now, the whole issue is that you brought the whole issue about Big Four agenda, the whole issue about manifesto. The truth is that manifestos and all these campaign promises are not really legal entitlement or they are not really things that you can go to court and say he promised a 10 stadia and he never. Like he can come and tell you that I genuinely believed. You know, politicians will always have a reason and tell you that yes, I genuinely believe that I was able to do this, but initially when I started, Gitonga refused to surrender that land. Or Gitonga went and made parliament not give me a budget for this. So that's why you cannot really go and take these issues in court. You will just bring an issue that is persuasive. Like right now, you've realized that there are actually 2 camps in this country. One camp is actually telling people that majority of Kenyans are people who have to work every day for them to eat. And whatever nature of job they are doing has to be respected. And they have to aim that things will change. Whether you are a toilet cleaner, whether you push mkokoteni. And there's also the other one which is saying that fine, if you look at how we want to bring this country together, the pieces that we want to pass, these things will ensure that whatever you are, all those issues will be addressed. So both people are taking issues to the Wananchi, for Wananchi to decide which camp will we trust our faith with and which leader will deliver to us than the other group.
Well, so interesting, quite interesting times ahead of us in terms of politics. Mr. Gitonga Wadhanga, your region, the Mount Kenya region, is so restive about their own Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, the President of the Republic of Kenya right now. They voted for him twice overwhelmingly. Right now they're telling him, you know what, boss, it's all over for you. We are now looking at other aspects. It's never happened. Just what's happening around the mountain? What's informing all this? Is it true that what we are hearing and seeing sometimes is what is on the ground? Because leaders represent people. Yes, they could be right.
The fact is that Uhuru is not running for office again, and it does not really require votes.
It doesn't need your votes anymore.
It doesn't need our votes anymore.
Yeah.
Or anybody's vote for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And now, the people from our region, they are feeling also a bit differentiated because they don't have a strong candidate. They don't have a candidate that they can rally behind. And on the other hand, they are also feeling let down because of the handshake. That the person, when a lot of people went to vote for Uhuru, they did not really vote for him because they thought that he merited the office. What they really voted, a lot of them voted against Raila Odinga. So now, for the same...
Well, just hold on. It was quite so interesting. I mean, the guys in the mountain didn't vote for Uhuru Kenyatta because they thought he deserved the office.
Yes.
They were voting to stop Raila Odinga from ascending to presidency.
Yes. They knew
that's the business true.
Yes. They knew a lot of our people really knew that Uhuru did not have the capacity. They know they did not have the capacity to lead this country. They knew he did not have the experience. And he really also didn't have the interest. And he didn't have the interest. He doesn't really have the interest of the people. He has never really interacted. He has not, he did not care really about say the Mwananchi, the Kawaida Mwananchi. But even knowing that, they were more worried because of the propaganda that has been around the man of Raila Odinga. They were worried about Raila if Raila was to come to power, he's gonna finish us our community, all right? Because he's so much against tutamalizwa. So the reason why they voted for him was because now they wanted protection against this Raila Odinga. And now for the same person now to go and bring Raila Odinga now closer to him than anybody else, now they are feeling quite offended. But
Mr. Gitonga, 57 years down the line after independence, why would one sector or section of the country love so much an individual to an extent that you would vote somebody you don't want and don't merit just to solve the other person. I mean, that politics doesn't make sense at all.
It doesn't make, but unfortunately, is a reality, because this is something. It's something that has been passed through generations since the 60s, and at some time we're hoping that we're hoping that it's gonna disappear, especially after the 2002 elections. Kibaki had a perfect opportunity
to end it,
but unfortunately, he even made it worse. So now, from Kibaki time now, it's actually became worse than before, than when Moi. So when Moi was in the power, there wasn't so much antagonism between the Luos and the Kikuyus, because all of them were being fought by Moi. Most of them were fighting together. But now, since Kibaki came to power now, and then he segregated, and they kind of really ran a Kikuyu government. Now it has really become worse, and then after the post-election violence, then the tensions between the two communities now, and especially now, the Kikuyu, the people from the region, they have this what called the siege mentality. They think like now everybody is like after them, and much more so after the post-election violence. Now they are kind of jittery. They are They are really scared that some of them genuinely feel that there are people out there out to get them.
So it's fear sometimes of the unknown. Maybe it's a misplaced kind of fear, because I don't think there's anybody in his very good senses would go for our entire community to finish them. I mean, it's a narrative that is so tired. I don't think it sounds like a broken record, because to me, at this age and time in the 21st century, our reasoning as a people should be above that.
It should be, but unfortunately, it is not.
It is not.
It is not, and it's actually very worrying, and it's very worrying at the kind of the mentality that is within a section of our society. That the kind of arguments you hear them fronting, you really wonder, whether Christianity and education are really making a difference to our life.
Well, that's relative. It's upon them. Before I just go back to, I come to Okello to complete this session. Do you think this narrative is going to change? Because William Ruto seems to have gotten the better of Uhuru Kenyatta in his own backyard, and it's getting stronger day by day. At what time or at what point of this political journey do you think we'll have a change of heart from people of Mount Kenya? Because they say they don't know what's in the baby eye. They were not privy to the handshake. It's a Uhuru thing. Uhuru has been a lone ranger. They were not consulted. Uhuru has been exhibiting so much bravado and carelessness in the way he handles their matters. Some things that I think that are not true. From the research we've had, so much money has been pumped into central Kenya from the national government for projects that are agriculturally based. I think it's only in central Kenya where people at one time got 100% waiver of debts for their coffee. There are goodies that have come to central Kenya. To say that Uhuru Kenyatta has been negligent of them is not to say the truth so much. However, before we get to that, Mr. Polawol, what can be done? Because we can't have a country that runs on this lane, because it's very dangerous. And as days go by, the youth numbers are growing. Unemployment is growing. A country that churns out graduates year in, year out, and all of them are idle in the streets. What are we faced with? Maybe in 1 minute, and then we complete this show.
First of all, you're trying to make it look like these differences only manifest themselves in Kenya. I don't think so, that this issue of unemployment is a worldwide problem. Issues of growing debt is a worldwide problem. Issues where politicians use certain areas to mobilize, it's also known. Like even in America, there are people who will identify themselves as Republicans, that those will identify themselves as Democrats, and they will be so strong that if somebody is a Republican, as long as you are a Democrat, he will never vote for you. And I don't think it's something out of the ordinary. Politicians will always use different formations for mobilization. Others can use religion, Others can use social classes like, say, hustlers and dynasties. Others can use tribe. I think the whole thing is just to regulate, to ensure that it doesn't get out of hand. But yes, I don't really think the issue in Kenya is really getting out of hand. The issue in Kenya is just competition for power, where different people want to tell the wananchi that this is what is important and this is what you should stick to. The other person is also telling the Kenya that this is what is important and this is what you should stick to. And they are all using it to mobilize Kenyans for them to ascend into office and ensure that what they are saying is implemented.
Well, just how well would it be said? So much to talk about. This is why you can't miss this show. And at this particular moment, I want to wind up, and I can't wind up before giving Mr. Gitonga Wadhanga just 2 seconds to say the last punch of his day today before we leave.
Okay, you asked what should be done. What I would say is that the president is actually on the right track to correct the wrongs really that have been happened in this country by agreeing to work with the main opposition leader Raila Odinga and now building that trust. And last about 3 weeks ago, he came out also and stated that this country cannot really be governed only by two communities. It's probably time that we give a chance to other communities.
Do you support that?
Sure, definitely do. Definitely, it will go a long way. If that was to happen, it will go a long way in healing the wounds and making other people feel that they are also part of this country and that they are also well represented in the governance of this country.
Yes, Paul, you are parting short in the next 2 seconds.
I think all that we need to do as a country is to agree on what is important at this moment, what is not important at this moment. Then we concentrate on our energies on pursuing what is. Yes, we will not end up the politics, unfortunately, because we are poor. That is the truth. Where people are poor, they have to scamper for the small resources that are there. And as long as we remain poor as a nation, there'll always be politics, because it means that the food or the cake is not enough for everybody.
Well, you've had it. We can't even have imagine the time has been so short that I wanted to have this go on and on and on for you guys to get to know what it is that we have in Politics 101. This is just to unpackage what is there from Mount Kenya to what is in the legal the legal aspect of BBI. We've had it all, but still there's more to be listened to. Nowhere else would you get better than in this show that has been hosted by me. I want to thank very much my guests who today we were with here, and I also want to thank them so much for agreeing to come and kick off this very wonderful program to run through the year. And it's wonderful also that you guys are in your very good health position, and I'm happy that you've given us out of your voluntary evolution to come and participate with us here on this. When you're called next time, please don't shy away. Please come, let's get this information to you, my viewer. There's no any other better time for us to think as a people what is good for us. Remember, all politics is local. However, too much politics again is toxic to our well-being. We must remain steadfast into our course of wanting to build a prosperous country called Kenya. This very small country called Kenya, or the very big family called Kenya, is where we all belong. Remember today, your actions will always invite consequences. Where do you want to be when one day history is written in this country? Would you be that person who will be reading negativity about or positivity about? All this must help us build a united Kenya. Remember, our national anthem says that peace, love, and unity must be one of the cornerstones that we people want to rely on to build a prosperous country. And again, don't forget that loving one another is a virtue. Not only a virtue, but a responsibility. Where do you belong? Are you patriotic enough? Are you Kenyan enough? Yes. Just in this show, you'll always get these answers. I've been your host this long. I'm Nick Okello. Till we meet again next week, please don't miss a moment of this. It's gonna be very informative next time. Otherwise, have yourselves a lovely week ahead. Thank you very much.